Welcome to the Age of Superintelligence podcast. You're likely wondering, as many are, about the real shakeup happening in the job market thanks to artificial intelligence. We're not just talking about a few robots replacing factory workers anymore, are we?
No, exactly. What we're seeing now is much more fundamental.
Yeah.
It's a shift in how work actually gets done, the skills that are becoming valuable, and even, what kinds of jobs will exist down the line. Our goal in this deep dive is really to look beyond those kind of scary headlines about job losses.
Right.
And really understand the transformations happening. Yes, where AI might displace jobs, but also, importantly, where completely new opportunities are popping up.
Okay. And to really get a solid handle on this, we've been looking at quite a range of information. We've explored articles analyzing the big picture, the economic impact. We've dived into specific examples like how AI is changing software engineering. We've examined some really interesting recent data on tech unemployment specifically.
Yeah, that's crucial stuff.
And even considered proposals for how governments might, respond to all these AI-driven changes. Okay, so let's start maybe by unpacking this shifting landscape of work.
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is just how AI's capabilities have, exploded. It's not just about automating routine manual tasks anymore.
Yeah.
Now, with generative AI tools, things like ChatGPT, Gemini, DALE, we're seeing a big impact on tasks we used to think were purely human cognitive tasks.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing.
Think about it. These tools can write articles, create images, draft emails, generate code, even handle customer service.
So the immediate question on everyone's mind is AI just going to take my job? But one angle that kept coming up in the sources is that, often AI acts more like a super efficient assistant.
Right.
It boosts productivity for people who actually learn how to use it well. It's not always just about outright replacement.
That's a really critical distinction. And we're also seeing these brand new roles emerging, direct results of AI tech. You've got prompt engineers, people who get really good at telling the AI what to do, AI ethics specialists, making sure it's used responsibly.
That's the big one.
AI content curators, people training the models. These jobs, they barely existed a few years back.
Which brings us to that big question, the balancing act. Are we seeing more jobs created than lost overall? It feels like getting a really firm answer right now is, tricky.
It really is.
Especially with how fast generative AI is moving and this idea of transformed jobs.
Yeah, the transformed jobs concept is key.
So just to clarify, a transformed job isn't necessarily a new job title, but it's like an existing role where AI just becomes part of the workflow, fundamentally changing how you do things, right?
Exactly. You're still an accountant, say, but now you use AI tools for data analysis or report generation. Your job is transformed. And if we connect this to the bigger economic forecasts, the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report from 2023 gives some perspective. They estimated around 85 million jobs could be displaced by automation and AI by 2025.
Okay, 85 million displaced.
But, and this is the other side of the coin, they also projected 97 million new jobs being created.
97 million new ones.
Yeah, in areas like data and AI itself, sustainability, the care economy. So that points to a net positive globally of about 12 million jobs.
A net positive sounds encouraging on the surface, but there's a pretty big but there, isn't there?
There definitely is.
These new jobs, they often need totally different skills. More technical, more digital.
Precisely. And that can mean a tough transition period for a lot of people, maybe facing unemployment while they try to reskill or upskill. And another report, this one from Goldman Sachs in 2023, kind of reinforces this. They suggested up to 300 million jobs worldwide could be affected by AI.
300 million affected.
Wow. Yeah, and they estimated maybe up to 25% of current jobs in the U.S. and Europe could potentially be automated. Now, they also see long-term potential for growth, new jobs driven by productivity gains. But the crucial point they make is that these new jobs might not be easily accessible to the people who've been displaced.
So the skills gap is the real bottleneck here.
It really seems to be. That's the challenge, potentially leading to significant unemployment during the transition, even if the overall number of jobs grows eventually.
So if we try to boil these forecasts down to a simple ratio, what are we looking at for jobs replaced versus jobs created in the near term, say by 2025?
Well, based on those reports, the rough projection is about one job replaced for every 1.1 created.
Okay, so still that net gain like the WEAF suggested.
Yes, but again, the emphasis is on that transition not being smooth and the new roles often needing higher qualifications. It's not a simple swap.
Right. To make this more concrete, let's zoom in on a sector that's really been adopting AI quickly. Software engineering. We hear about tools like GitHub Copilot, ChatGPT being used all the time. What specific parts of their work are actually being automated?
It's interesting. AI is starting to handle some of the more, let's say, routine or repetitive aspects. Things like generating boilerplate code, writing basic unit tests, maybe initial documentation drafts,
No way.
translating code between languages, optimizing existing code blocks, even handling some simpler technical support queries.
So, tasks that maybe aren't the most exciting part of the job anyway.
For some developers, perhaps. But it also includes things that used to require human thought, like, drafting basic marketing copy snippets or initial legal document outlines. AI can generate a first pass now.
That's quite a bit of the workload, potentially. But what still absolutely needs a human software engineer's brain and expertise.
Well, the higher level complex stuff definitely remains human territory. Designing the overall architecture of big systems, really deeply understanding the business logic behind the software.
The why.
Exactly, the why. Designing user interfaces that people actually like using, the whole teamwork and collaboration side of things. And crucially, ensuring security, compliance, those really critical aspects. AI can assist, but it doesn't have that strategic oversight or deep contextual understanding.
That makes sense. So what are the forecasts specifically saying for software engineering jobs going forward?
McKinsey had an estimate back in 2023. They figured generative AI could automate maybe 20 to 30% of a typical software engineer's tasks.
20 to 30%.
But, and this is important, their outlook also suggested the overall demand for developers would likely keep growing, especially in specialized areas like AI development itself, cybersecurity, complex systems.
So automation of some tasks, but overall growth in demand.
That was the projection. And it seems backed up by what developers using these tools say.
Oh yeah, what's the feedback from the ground?
Well, GitHub did a survey of Copilot users in 2023. A huge majority, 88%, said it increased their productivity.
88%, that's significant.
Very. And they said they were using the time saved to build more features, improve code quality, spend more time on creative solutions, exploring new ideas. So it points towards AI as an augmentation tool.
Okay, so if we try to put some rough numbers on the types of changes for software engineering by, say, 2025.
The estimates floating around suggest something like 70% of software jobs being significantly transformed by AI integration, not eliminated.
70% transformed.
And then maybe 10 to 20% potentially replaced, likely more junior roles, or those focused on very repetitive coding tasks.
Okay.
And then maybe 20 to 30% new roles created focusing on those specialized areas, AI integration, complex system design.
So the picture is, AI boosts productivity, maybe reduces the need for some entry-level or repetitive work, but creates demand for more specialized engineers.
A reshaping, essentially.
That seems to be the main narrative. It's a reshaping of the profession. But, and this is where it gets a bit confusing, isn't it? Because while those projections suggest this shift and potential growth in specialized areas, we're hearing about hiring freezes and even layoffs in tech recently.
Exactly. That's the surprising turn. Despite the reported productivity gains from AI, the hiring landscape seems tighter.
And there was that data point about online job postings.
Right. Reports indicate a significant drop, maybe around 30%, in online job postings for software engineers in 2025 compared to the peaks we saw maybe a year or two earlier.
So the productivity boost might be letting companies do more with fewer new hires, at least in the short term.
That's certainly one interpretation. It suggests the impact on hiring might be more immediate than some of the longer-term forecasts anticipated.
Which definitely paints a slightly different, maybe more cautious picture than just continuous growth. And it ties directly into the broader tech unemployment numbers we looked at. Let's dig into those.
Yeah, let's do that. If you look at the FRA data, that's the Federal Reserve Economic Data, it tracks software development job postings on Indeed in the U.S. After peaking in early 2022, there's been a really sharp decline. The index, which used February 2020 as a baseline of 100, went way up over 220 and then plummeted to below 80 by early 2025.
Below 80 from a peak over 220, that's a dramatic fall. And it's not just fewer openings, right? The actual unemployment rate for IT professionals.
Exactly. It jumped quite significantly in the U.S., from 3.9% in December to 5.7% in January. That's a big move for 1 month.
And notably higher than the overall national unemployment rate, which was around 4%.
Right. It suggests something specific is happening in the tech sector.
And there was another report confirming this rise in unemployed IT pros.
Yes, Janko Associates, they analyzed U.S. Department of Labor data. They reported the number of unemployed IT professionals went from about 98,000 up to 152,000, again in just 1 month, a very rapid increase.
And this is happening while the overall U.S. economy is still adding jobs, albeit maybe more slowly. So it really does point towards tech facing unique pressures, possibly linked to AI adoption.
That seems to be the prevailing theory, yes. Victor Janulitis, the CEO of Genco, specifically commented on this. He noted that even though tech companies are investing heavily in infrastructure for generative AI.
Right, you would think that creates jobs.
You would, but he said it's not translating into a corresponding increase in new IT jobs. The thinking is that the efficiency gains from AI are, well, offsetting the need for more people right now.
Okay, so we're seeing this potential job displacement or at least suppressed hiring becoming a tangible reality, certainly in the tech sector, which naturally leads us to ask, what can actually be done about this? What kinds of strategies might governments look at to cushion the blow of AI-driven unemployment?
That's the crucial next step. And yeah, our sources did explore potential government responses. One idea that gets a lot of attention is universal basic income, or UBI.
UBI, right.
The basic idea is giving all citizens a regular, unconditional payment. It could act as a safety net, giving people security while they may be retrained or start something new. There's that pilot program in Finland, for example, which had some interesting results regarding well-being and funding it. Well, some suggest taxing AI or automation profits.
UBI is definitely a big, complex idea. What else is on the table?
Lifelong learning and reskilling initiatives are almost certainly going to be vital. Governments could fund or subsidize training, especially in AI-related skills. Think of Singapore's Skills Future program, giving citizens credits for training, offering actual career transition support, maybe stipends to help financially during retraining.
So helping people adapt their skills.
Exactly. And even reforming education earlier on, integrating AI literacy, critical thinking skills right from the start.
It makes a lot of sense for the longer term. Any other structural changes being discussed?
Well, some are looking at rethinking the structure of work itself, things like shorter work weeks or job-sharing schemes. Iceland and Belgium have run trials.
Spreading the available work around more.
Potentially. France, of course, has had a 35-hour work week for years, which is one policy lever influencing work time.
And what about just strengthening the existing safety nets?
Absolutely essential. Things like enhancing unemployment insurance, making it cover more people, maybe more generous benefits, ensuring healthcare isn't tied just to your job.
Yeah, decoupling healthcare is a big one.
And access to affordable housing, childcare, these all create a stronger buffer for people during transitions.
It really sounds like it needs a multi-pronged approach, doesn't it?
It almost certainly does. Another angle is direct public job creation. Governments could invest in creating jobs in areas less likely to be automated soon.
Like what sort of areas?
Things like building green energy infrastructure, the care economy, healthcare, education, social services, where the human element is so critical. And even in AI oversight and ethics itself, we'll need people managing this technology.
Interesting. And what about engaging corporations? Through taxes or incentives?
Yeah, that's part of the discussion too. Maybe using tax breaks to incentivize companies to focus on human-AI collaboration rather than just full replacement. Or conversely, the idea of an automation tax, sometimes called a robot tax, like they debated in South Korea, to capture some of the economic gains from AI efficiency and maybe reinvest it in social programs or retraining.
So quite a toolbox of potential policy options, it seems.
There are quite a few ideas out there, and it's really crucial that whatever strategies are developed, they're done carefully, considering all the impacts, and with input from everyone involved, workers, tech leaders, economists, the public. The goal has to be ensuring, a just and equitable transition as we move deeper into this age of superintelligence.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive. It's so clear the impact of AI on jobs is incredibly complex, way more nuanced than just robots taking jobs. There are real challenges, but also potential opportunities.
Definitely. And as you're listening, it really is a good moment to think about your own skills. What might you need to develop or adapt as this tech continues to evolve? That ability to keep learning, adapt, and work effectively with AI tools, that's likely to become more and more valuable.
So as we wrap up, here's something for you to chew on. Considering these recent trends we discussed, the rising tech unemployment, the hiring slowdown despite those earlier forecasts of net job growth from AI, which of these potential government strategies we talked about seems most promising to you for ensuring a fair transition? Or maybe there are other, more creative solutions we haven't even touched on that will be needed.
It's a huge question, no easy answers.
Yeah.
But definitely one that needs our ongoing attention and critical thought as we navigate what's coming.
If you like this episode, do not forget to subscribe to our channel, Age of Superintelligence, on YouTube.